Now that we've built our table, let's build some chairs. First, if you're having trouble deselecting your table, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are at the top level of the hierarchy for the edit mesh. Right now you can see we're on polygon, so I can select various polygons. What I want to do is I want to go up here to where it says edit mesh. That's the top of the stack. So if I was on polygons, I can go there. The other thing that I could do is, let's say if I was on polygons, is just click the polygon again. That'll bring me up to the top of the stack. Now I can do things like move the table as a whole, or select objects, or deselect it. Alrighty, so we've got our table built, and let's select everything over here by clicking on the back wall, which is on top, holding down our shift key, clicking on right wall at the bottom, and clicking the eyeball. That turns everything off. Click over here, nothing selected. In essence, isolating this area. Alright, let's build a chair. I'm going to go to the Create tab in my command panel and go to Box. Dragging out a box. Doesn't matter what size it is. I'll right click and then go over here to the Modify tab. I'm going to call this Chair. Alrighty. Now in my chair, you might have length and width segments left over from when you made your table. That's alright. We'll change those now. I'm going to make the length 2 feet, the width 2 feet, and the height, how about 1.5 inches. 1.5, then the quotation mark. That gives me inches. Okay, good enough. For the segments, let's give it a lot of segments. So we already had 24 for the length. Let's give it 24 for the width, but the height we'll still just leave at 1. Hopefully, in your default shading, you have display selected with edge faces checked. If not, then check it so that you can see the segments. By the way, Alt W, you have to do that for all your views if you want to see that in the various viewports. You see how it's not selected here? Now it is. In here, it is selected. In here, it is not selected. Let's select it. Okay, so back to our top. Alt W to bring it in. Alright, selecting that, and we should see our segments. Oh, there we go. There's our segments. Okay, so right now the seat of our chair, that's what this is going to be, is the seat, is a little bit square. So let's make it a little bit more shapely. Okay, start by turning this parametric or primitive object into an editable object. We've got our parameters set, and that's important to do that now with a number of segments, etc. We'll go in here to what's called the stack. We'll right click and we'll go to Edit Mesh, changing it to an editable mesh. Now we're going to select our vertices. And we're going to come down here and we're going to choose Soft Select. Soft Select is a rollout that's oftentimes closed when you first come to it. Just click the triangle and it'll open it up. We're going to say, OK, use Soft Select. Going over here, we want to select just the first corner. Very important to draw a marquee, and once again I'm in the top view right here, and in doing so I will have selected this corner, but also you'll see I will have selected the bottom corner down here as well. Back to my top view. The other thing that you'll see is that in soft select, the selection becomes a rainbow. Where it's red, it selects the most, or it moves the most. Where it's here in the blue, it's affected the least. All right. I want to control click and get all the corners. So I'm holding down my control key, draw a marquee, catch that corner, this corner, and this corner. By the way, if your chair turns out looking a little bit different than mine, that's okay. Okay, so we've got the soft select, and I think what I want to do is I want to change the fall off. In other words, the amount of area that is affected by the soft select. You'll see if I roll this up, it becomes more intense, the selection. If I roll it back, it becomes less intense. For this project, I found that an intensity of about 10 inches was good. So in here, I'm just going to highlight that, change it to 10 inches. Okay, now if I was to move these, you would see they would just either move one way or the other. But if I want to maybe move them all in at once, what I'll do is I'll select the scale tool. With the scale tool, I'm just going to bring it in on that x-axis. There it is. That's looking kind of nice. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, and with these corners, they're a little bit sharp, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off soft select and sculpt them just a little bit. Selecting just the corner over here, for instance, and my move tool, and moving that in just a little bit. This one the same, just a bit, just around that. And here. And here. Once again, this is the power of orthographic, because by being in orthographic, everything is lined up. So you can see I'm selecting both of these at the same time. Moving that in. Not too bad. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to extrude this edge right here to make the chair's back. Okay, well if I was to draw a marquee, my safe tool over here, well that might be kind of difficult because it's curved. What I can do instead is change the way that I select. I'm going to change from a square marquee down to what's called the paint can. And I'm going to change from vertices to polygons. Over here in the stack, remember we can open that up, and I'm going to change it to polygons. That way I don't have to come over here and roll it up and down. Okay. With the paint can selected and the polygon selected, I'm just going to take and hold down my left click button, and I can just paint the selection that I want. Okay, well we're looking pretty good so far, but if we were to turn it this way, we can see that a little bit more is selected than what I want. What I really want is just this top row right here to extrude these polygons out. So what I'll do is I'll go here to my front view. Once again, we're in orthographic, so everything is lined up. And remember how you could use your control key and then select multiple things. You could also use your alt key to deselect things. So holding down my alt key, I'm going to use that same paint can select and deselect all the other polygons that I don't want. And you can see now I have just that top edge. I'm going to go to P for perspective. And I'm going to extrude these polygons. So come on down here to my extrude. And I think I'm going to extrude them about 2 feet. So 2, enter. And I'll get my chair back. It's a little stiff, so while these polygons are selected, I'll just go over here to my Move tool, which will also deselect my extrude, and just pull them back a little bit. And you can see how having that gizmo is really nice because I can be very precise in the way that I want to move things. So for instance, moving this just straight back this way, I don't get any movement in other directions. Alrighty, pretty good. Well, that's nice enough, but what about the legs? I could extrude the legs out of the bottom like I had done with the table, but I think an easier thing to do would just be to make some cylinders and attach those as legs. Okay, I'm going to deselect my polygon, which brings me to the top level up here. Now that I'm on the top level, I can raise up this whole chair seat. I'm going to raise it on the z-axis about 2 feet, putting it 2 feet up in the air. I'm going to go over to the Create tab, and I'm on Geometry, so I can see my familiar boxes and cylinders and spheres and stuff. And I'm going to choose Cylinder, dragging out a cylinder and pulling it up. Right-click, so I don't keep making cylinders, and go over here to my Modify tab. You can see that the radius is 2 inches and some change, and it's whatever you made it. I'm going to change that to 1. Oops, not 1 foot. I want it to just be 1 inch. So go 1, Shift, hold down my quotation marks, and then I'll get 1 inch. The height, well, I raised up the chair 2 feet, so I think I'll just make the height 2 feet. The number of segments, 5, we really only need 1. And the side segments, instead of 18, well, let's take a look at that. The side segments on a cylinder just show how round it's going to be. 18 is pretty round, that could be fine. I think though I'll raise it up to something more like 32. That'll make it really nice and round. Okay. I don't need to make this editable for what I'm about to do, but it could be editable and it would do the same thing. What I want to do next is I want to shift copy and make copies of the cylinder. So I'll go to T for top. And I can see through this object because this is selected. I'll move my leg over to maybe where I want it, right about there. Then I'm going to hold down my Shift key and drag this over. I've created a copy. I'm not going to rename it this time. I could rename it something like leg, but I don't need to because I'm going to be attaching it to the rest of the chair here in just a few minutes. Say OK. Alrighty, that looks to be about right. Now I'm going to select both of these. Here, let's go over here and change this from the spray can back to the square. And pull it over, holding down my Shift key. I'm going to get a couple more legs and just say OK. Now I can look at it from the left too bad. From the back. I think this could go, oops. I'll select these two right here. Pull them back a bit. And these two up front. Pull them forward a little bit. Let's see, how's that looking? Well, it was looking good, but look at that, the legs came out. So that's not going to work. Let's pull that back here. That looks good. These ones back here. Guess that's all right. That'll work. And say that's okay. Okay, so and I'll go P for perspective. Hit the home button, that way I can find myself again. Not too bad, not too bad, that chair. Well, but it's all a bunch of different objects. Let's make it one. Clicking on the chair seat, I'm at the top level. I'm going to go down here to where it says attach. Clicking attach, I'm simply going to touch these other objects and they all become part of the chair. Now it's very important that you unclick the attach by either clicking some other object or tool or just clicking the attach once again and that will deselect it. Well, that's a pretty nice chair. Let's see how it looks with everything else. I'm just going to go over here and click on my various eyeballs. Let's go. Oh, that's better. So we've got our table, we've got our chair, all good. So I'm just going to shift copy my chair. I'm going to call it O2, or I'm just going to call it chair 2. It's a copy. And say OK. Now I've got two chairs. Of course, if I like, I could make many, many more by clicking both chairs. Here's one chair. Control click the other. This time when I shift copy, oops, this time when I shift copy, I'll get multiple chairs. Shift copy, so forth, and so on. Actually, I don't think that will want that many chairs, but I just wanted to make the point that that's how you could make multiple things. All right, good enough. Well, here we go. We've got our interior space. Go on up here to your render production, and you'll see we've got a picture, and it's in frame. We're in our camera view. Notice that there's nothing around the outside of the picture. In other words, there's none of this stuff. Okay, back to it. So anyways, the picture that we rendered now is kind of small because it's in 480. Let's change that. Here's a handy way to get to the render setup. In our render setup, we're going to change the resolution from 480 270 to 1280 720. Once again, that's sort of like HD for YouTube and good enough for what we're doing. So change the resolution. At this point, you could just click render and you'll see we get a much larger picture. I want you to go ahead and save this one. So go to Save Image, and in the T drive, in the Art folder, go to Your Period, go to Project 2A, and there you can save it with your last name, your first name, the period number, And we'll call this project 2A. The format that you want to save it in is JPEG. And save. OK. And if we were to look in our folders, we would see that now we have a project. By the way, when you're in your folders, if you cannot see a picture, just go to the large icon over here and you'll see it show up. I'll show you that once again later when we're looking at images.